Hello, darlings. You've all heard of Marilyn Monroe.
Welcome back, darlings. I'm TV host, entertainment journalist, Cognac Wellerlane, and it's New York Fashion Week, and in just a moment, I will be interviewing fashion designer and pet couturier, Mr. Anthony Rubio. Let's take a look at this fascinating interview about his wonderful fashion show that premiered at the Ziegfeld Ballroom in New York City during New York Fashion Week. Welcome back, darlings. I'm TV host, entertainment journalist, Cognac Wellerlane, and I have a very special guest today. I'm so excited. I saw his fashion show. It is amazing. Fashion designer, Mr. Anthony Rubio. Welcome to Cognac's Corner and welcome to my pink kitchen behind us.
Thank you.
Yes.
Glad to be here.
Yes, darling, and we're going to get into the questions, but before we get into the questions, I want my audience to know a little bit about you. Perhaps they may have not seen my past videos with you, so I want my guests to know, people that watch me all the time, or people that just started watching me, I want them to know a little bit about you. So I'm going to tell them a little bit in this little introduction before we get into the questions. Now, Anthony Rubio, fabulous fashion designer, had his show on February 13th, 2022 in New York. Dogs on the Catwalk at the New York Fashion Week Women's Wear and Canine Couture show by designer Anthony Rubio at the fabulous Ziegfeld Ballroom. And part of the Art Heart fashion shows. And now a little bit more about you. Anthony Rubio is an international acclaimed pet couturier and women's wear designer. Anthony, along is a one-of-a-kind creations, has been on Good Morning America, New York Times, the Today Show, Time Magazine, Vogue Italia, Harper's Bazaar, USA Today, MTV, Style, Glamour Magazine, Yahoo, MSN News, Women's Wear Daily, New York Magazine, The Cut, People's Magazine, Telemundo, Univision, Sports Illustrated, and many, many others. So you have quite a resume. You have done so much, and your clothes, of course, are so fabulous. Now, my first question is, this year that we saw the show, tell my audience what the inspiration, what the collection, how it was inspired, what inspired you to create this collection?
Well, I get inspirations from pretty much everything and anything around me. Sometimes I'll dream things up. Sometimes I'll be watching television, something grabs my attention, and I'm like quickly taking notes and making sketches. So I'm constantly, working on things. But this particular show had a hidden theme, which was the resurgence of dressing up to feel good. You know, people have been caught up in especially it's affecting the industry. Everybody's been caught up with the staying at home, working at home, going shopping, doing everything from at home. So everybody's caught up into this lazy, slouchy, clothing that
I hate it.
Really, yes, it's not really formal or attractive. And it's good looking if it's clean and it's polished, but it's still just sweat clothes. It's just like wearing pajamas. And
I hate
people have
that.
gotten accustomed to it. And the fashion industry has suffered a bit because with the ongoing pandemics and then the resurgence later on, weddings were canceled, proms, debutante balls, all sorts of formal events were removed, because for safety reasons. And people kind of got accustomed to that. And the fashion industry suffered because a lot of the formal wear and dress-up clothing was not selling. Nobody had anywhere to go.
So, all the red carpet events, we couldn't, I couldn't even go to half of these red carpet events. They weren't allowing anybody to go to these
and everything is virtual.
Events. Exactly.
Right, everything's virtual. People are showing up on screen. So I decided that it was time to bring back that feel-good time of getting dressed, and even
And
if it's to
looking
be and looking
glamorous.
glamorous, because you know what, we have to feel
Yes.
good. If you keep looking at yourself without makeup and hair done or whatever, it's kind of depressing after a while that you're like, wow, this is what we've gone to. And I like the idea of the old days of getting dressed up for dinner or getting dressed up to go to church or going to dinner. You know, like I said, people used to dress up for different occasions, even to travel. And
I have
nowadays,
to,
everybody's wearing sweats.
it's disgusting. Let me tell you something. We just celebrated my husband's birthday. Michael, he just
Yeah.
turned 65. God
Oh,
bless him. May
congratulations.
he live another 65 years.
Yes, yes.
But I will tell you, it doesn't matter what restaurant you go to today. If you go to and let me tell you something, we went to an expensive restaurant.
Hmm.
It doesn't matter whether you go to like McDonald's or a very expensive restaurant. People don't get dressed. It's
They've gotten
so
sloppy. They've gotten
awful.
lazy. It is.
It's
And
just it's utter laziness. Also, I want to tell you something. We spoke earlier, and you know, we were supposed to do this interview yesterday, but I had no internet service. So to occupy my time, I was watching all these DVDs, and I pulled out a DVD that a friend of mine gave me, and it was all Mae West movies. And this one particular movie that I was watching, it was called I'm No Angel. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's probably
yes.
one of her most famous movies, because she was in this movie with Cary Grant, and she
Hmm.
actually gave Cary Grant his break. Now, what's
Hmm.
interesting about this movie is she plays a lion tamer in a circus. So she's performing the act where she puts her head inside of the lion's head. But what was so fascinating, about this movie was it was made in the 30s. And the people, the characters, the actors that was going to see her perform this incredible thing where she puts her head inside the lion's head, they had tuxedos on and
Hmm.
gowns and furs
Hmm.
and diamonds. Who goes to the circus with
Hmm.
diamonds on and furs? Did that really exist?
That was a time of formality. People dressed up in the 1800s and forward. People learned that you were dressing to impress, and to attract people you have to have that good first look, because nobody wants to go up and speak to somebody who looks like I'm sorry to say, smell or are unkempt. And that's basically the premise of what I was trying to create for this line of clothing for the show, which was to bring back a time to get dressed, even if you're at home. Even if you're going on the internet, a little something to dazzle, a little glamour, a little something to bring positivity.
Well,
So
I hope you approve. I hope you approve
yes,
with what I'm wearing.
you're wearing exactly what I'm saying. So the idea was to bring back some glamour, and I focused on lesser colors this time, basically a lot of gold and silver because of the opulence, and black. And then I started introducing little bits of other colors, mostly the shade of royal blue. There's the name royal. I wanted to bring back a little bit of formality onto the runways. I like to have fun when I create for my shows, and the
I
idea
know.
of dressing the people a certain way and then dressing the dogs another way, or something to complement each other, is usually what is encompassed in my show. And I always say, if you're going to take a family portrait, or if you're going to look your best to impress people, then dress the dog too. Let's get the dog looking just as
Oh,
formal as you are.
Gigi's upstairs because she barks a lot when I'm doing interviews, but I always dress Gigi up too. She's always got a little outfit on also. So
Right.
now, how many pieces did we see in the collection between the human models and the pet models? And I say pet models because I noticed it was not all canine.
That was
There
a surprise.
was there was a gorgeous silver gown, a model wearing a silver gown, and she had a cat.
Yes. Um, just as I was the first designer, okay, let me remind everybody that I am the original pet couturier. When you see the word pet couture, I started that, I created that. And I started that with dogs. And in my work, I've also dressed other kinds of animals, but I was the first one to introduce dogs on the runways of any fashion week, New York or wherever. And I introduced them as models, not as accessories, because in the past we saw fashion, the model dressing in whatever it was, Dior, Saint Laurent, and they would have a dog in their arms or Burberry, and it was like the dog was the accessory, like a pocketbook or something. No,
Right,
my
it was
dogs
very
are the
chic. It
stars.
was
Right,
back in the 50s and the 60s,
right.
all the very wealthy women used to carry a little tiny dog in their
Little
hands, a
lap dogs,
poodle or
be it a poodle or a pug or whatever.
right,
But
or
the thing was
Yorkie.
that you know, I introduced the dogs as the stars of the show. And then I introduced the humans wearing it because to do New York Fashion Week, you have to present human clothing. Lo and behold, we got so much notice as you were reading the list of all the publications and shows
Yeah.
that have featured us. You know, I get exhausted when I hear, and I don't believe I did that many myself when I stop and think about it, but it calls attention. And that's the other thing that I wanted to say, that putting the animals on the runway is my way of acquiring a platform to speak for the animals. I'm the voice of those who cannot speak. So I will put out there that we put the sign up on the show to speak right before the show started. It says adopt, don't shop. And we're about pet adoption, about knowing animals and respecting them, the plight of animals that are abandoned. And it's all, you know, it gives me that voice. And that was the reason why I started that in the beginning. We bring on a lot of rescues. I always like to bring on a surprise.
So
So
you get
that's,
the animals from rescue
we get some
organizations.
from rescues. We get some from clients who have adopted and rescued. So a lot of the animals that are in the show were rescued and adopted. And like I said, I was the first one to put dogs on the runway. So I wanted to break the glass ceiling one more time and bring in a cat this time. So now I have the first cat on the catwalk. You know, who would have
Is
thought?
I said to myself, that's not a dog, that's a
Yeah.
cat.
The
But
cat's
did
name is
you
Sunglasses Cat.
designed the eyewear the
Yes.
cat was wearing?
The where
Tell us what the cat was wearing and the
the
mom.
cat was wearing eyewear because the cat is partially blind. And the
Oh,
cat is used to this. The cat has a major following on in the media and Instagram. The cat has been featured in a lot of advertisements, and I used the cat in California for my last show, the virtual show, but I wanted to bring her on for a live show. So she flew in from California, and the gown she was wearing was a smoky gray chiffon embroidered with metallic silver and
that's the woman's gown or the
in
cat?
fact, here's a piece of the fabric because I keep swatches.
But
So this is
is that the cat's gown or
the cat's gown, yes.
okay.
And the
Okay.
gown was embroidered with a gold and silver sequins and a little bit of lavender. The model herself was wearing a full-length gown that was in white, black, and silver sequins, and very fabulous, very, you know,
Oh,
avant-garde.
it's
With a
gorgeous.
long train,
Everything you make is gorgeous. Now, how do you cast your models, your human models?
well, we do have model calls, but I do keep my house models. I have about 5 models that are my personal muses. When I design clothing, I design with them in mind. And I always like to try out new people. There's a large calling, apparently because of my following and because of my publicity. A lot of models are, you know, they want to be in my show. And it applies both ways for the dogs, the animals, and the humans. So we do model calls. We got about 700 human models applying. And I have to, you know, I have a team that does that part because that's exhausting for me, and I'm already creating the pieces. So they narrow it down and they bring me the list. And then when they're down to like maybe 50 models, then we sit down and we start looking at sizes, their background. And I also, in the solicitation, there's this statement about how do they feel about dealing with animals, because for me, more important than anything else on the show is the safety of the animals, and that the
Yes.
humans get along with the animals and know how to handle them and how to treat them. It's not to say that things don't happen the wrong way, because, for instance, the girl that carried the cat, this was her first time walking a runway show for me, and she wasn't used to carrying animals. So we positioned the cat the way the cat likes to be carried. We must have looked the other way, and the cat shifted, and before you know it, the girl's carrying the cat the wrong way. I didn't even see this
I
until after the
noticed
show.
that, but the
So it was
cat
kind of
was
wonky. And I
Yeah,
was
I
not happy
noticed
with
that
it.
a little
Yeah,
bit.
because I like the animals to be lifted. But she, we unless you've walked the runway, unless you've seen what goes on when you turn that corner and see all those cameras flashing and all that audience, you get like you become a deer in headlights. If you're not used to it, it gets very scary. And the focus of the models is usually themselves. So now for them to have to focus on themselves plus the animal, if they're not used to it, things are going to go a little bit wrong in the beginning until they get used to it. Now I've got my
Sure.
expert girls who walk out there with the animal, they put it, that they show the animal, they kiss the animal. These are the girls who are used to it and don't mind going that far. But like I
Right.
said, we used a few new models, and that's how we try them out to know if we're going to use them in the future, because we want to keep it moving and relevant, and
Of
the looks are always
course.
different.
Of course. I did notice that there were some people holding, like a lot of models, they know how to hold the pet. When it's a
Yes.
small animal, you have to actually put your arm underneath their
Right. My boy,
belly.
Bogey was on my house model because he loves her. So it's the girl with the silver top and the black ball gown. She's been modeling for me from the very, very beginning, from way back when. She was a novice. She never did it before. She modeled for me, and she's been modeling since. It's been about, I would say, she's been doing it like 8 or 9 years now, and she's high in demand. But she carries him on her wrist, and he straddles her wrist, and he's comfortable. The other one that carried my white dog, the beginning, she was so caught up. I mean, she's a wonderful model, a lot of personality, bubbly, fascinating. I
Is
loved
that the
working with
one with
her.
the ponytail, the platinum
With
blonde
the white,
ponytail?
they all have ponytails, but she was the one with the white hair.
Yeah.
And what happened was that she wasn't paying attention to my Kimba, and Kimba was uncomfortable, so he was squirming, and he was kind of falling out of his outfit, and the top had tilted. But it was humorous. The people liked it. It was cute. It wasn't like the dog was suffering or being hurt. She kissed him. She played with him.
I
And then when she
saw
came back to,
that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
at the end, I took the hat off eventually and just let her, so that way it wouldn't be so confusing. Because like I said, sometimes I'm not aware that it could be too much for some of the models. But all in all, they were all wonderful.
So that's basically how it works in Hollywood. You have casting directors.
Yeah.
They pick the actor they want to be in the movie, and they think that, and then the last straw, of course, is the director makes the final decision of who
Yeah,
he
we make the
thinks,
final cut.
right, who he wants to be in the film, who he wants to play the part. And sometimes it's many, many auditions in a film, in a
Oh
movie.
yeah,
It's
oh yeah.
many, many. I
We were.
interviewed Carolyn Gorney, and she told me she went, from Saturday Night Fever, and she went for many, many auditions before they decided to pick her for the movie. And then there was many circumstances of what they were looking for. They didn't want her to be better looking than John Travolta. He had to really be the focus, and she had to really know how to dance. That was
Right.
the number one thing. She had to know how to dance. She was a professional dancer, and that's why she got the part. That's the reason why she got the part. Now, how many pieces do we see between the
Um,
male,
there
the
were
human, and the canines?
Well, whatever the number of the humans, you double that, and that's the amount of garments there. So I believe there were 18, so it makes about 36 pieces. And there was a little confusion because the weather was inclement here in New York. It was snowing that day. So
Yeah.
I had one or two models pull out at the last minute. One model showed up very late, so we threw him in there anyway. And that's why sometimes the numbers don't click as I originally planned. But I
Right.
always keep extra garments, and I always keep things ready. So just in case of an emergency, there's always a backup plan, because that's very important to have a plan B. The other thing is that, I also, uh, I design the clothing. Rob, my assistant, my partner, he helps me design. We do the backdrops, which were fabulous in this show. We do those big computerized images in the background, so they look like the people are coming out of them. We do the music. And we try to keep it as a team, working things together where we don't have too many hands in there, because as the saying goes, too many cooks spoil the broth. When you have too many people involved, like, I've heard people like, I'm a choreographer and I'm a this and I'm a that. I'm like, you know what? You don't need all of that. That's extra. That's people that are in the way. When we're backstage right before the show, that's me standing back there with the models, psyching them up like a football coach with the players. And we play the music, and the girls are, what do you want me to do? You want me to be serious? You want me to? And I'm like, I want you to have a good time. I want that what you feel, I want the audience to come out feeling also. So I want you to be coquettish. I want you to smile. In my shows, I don't want robots. I don't want the horse horse prance. I want you to feel good, show off the dogs and the cat in this time,
and feel beautiful in the clothes.
And feel beautiful, because that's what the clothing is glamorous. So feel it. And then they felt the music. So you should have seen us backstage. We were dancing to the music, and then I had to push them. I'm like, okay, it's time, go, because they got so caught up in the moment, and they all had a wonderful time.
Now I understand you show with Heart Fashions.
Heart Fashion.
Right, which you previously did before COVID. And of course, COVID kicked in, and they couldn't come to New York. But tell my audience that are unaware of what Hearts Fashion is about. What is this organization all about? Can you tell us a little bit about why you decided to hook up with them again and what their main purpose is?
Well, I bounce around from production company to production company because it depends for me. I mean, they all bring something to the table. There's a lot of negotiating that goes on. And for me, it's about what location they're bringing, because I don't want my shows to look the same all the time. And a lot of the production companies put a lot of themselves into these shows. Our Hearts is the one that I've used the most because they have their heart into this work. And the head of Our Hearts is Eric Rossetti, who's also a designer, by the way.
Right.
It's a production company. So what they do is they lock down the location, the venue. They set up the runway. They set up the lighting. They set up all the mechanical stuff. They set up the reception, the people that are waiting at the front and who test, checking people's credentials for COVID, whatever. They also have the ushers. They handle the setup of just about everything that I don't do. And sometimes I end up doing more than what they offer, because I have a way of doing things my way.
Right.
But whatever the case may be, for any other designers, they're given the options that they will do the music for them and the backdrops and all that stuff. Like I said, I do my shows, I consider them an experience, not just a show. My show is the Anthony Rubio Designs experience. You come to the show and you're going to see dogs, but you don't know in what content, and you don't know what my dream was when I came up with it. So when those lights turn down and that backdrop opens, you're in a whole different world, and you're in the dark, like in a movie theater, like you're in a Broadway show, and the players are the dogs and the models walking up and down the runway, and the music, it takes you in. And it's a feel-good show. It's the show that people walk out knowing that we treat the animals good. The animals are adorable.
Your shows are never boring, darling. They're never boring. Now, I do understand that he does incorporate, like, there are people that do come pay tickets or sponsor, and I believe some of the proceeds do go for people that have AIDS. Am I right?
Yes, that's
that?
What Our Hearts. Our Hearts. Yeah,
that's what it's about.
With AIDS, and that's what originally caught my eye, because I've been watching Our Hearts at work since before I came on the runway at the Lincoln Center fashion shows.
Right.
So that's where we met, and that's where they asked me, well, we saw some of your work, we should work sometime. Little did I know, a few years later, I'd get that phone call, to come to New York and be the first one. The original call was, Anthony, how would you like to be the first one in history to put dogs as models on the runway? We want to be the first ones to break that mold. So I was like, okay, so these organizations, they have a lot attached to them, and they do a lot of good. Now, they have to sell tickets at times, because we, the designers, usually pay a set amount of money for that production company, but there's still a lot of other costs, and they do get sponsors. I mean, I myself can't speak for them because I'm not part of their organization, so I can't say how much goes for what, but they do sell tickets, because
but there is
a
charity, a donation aspect to that. Now, how did you feel about showing the collection at the fabulous Ziegfeld?
Well,
oh my God.
Like you, I like old movies. I used to watch all the Mae West. I watched a movie called The Ziegfeld Follies from way back when. If anybody knows the history of Ziegfeld, Florence Ziegfeld was his name. He was mentioned and showed up as a character in what was it? The Barbra Streisand. Funny Girl, right?
Yeah.
And Walter Pidgeon played him.
Yes.
And the premise of the shows back then was to show off the most glamorous, most beautiful women in the most outrageous, most gorgeous costumes
Costumes.
and illusions, reminiscent of a famous artist named Erte. So everything was Art Deco. Everything was like really over the top, and they were like, these set designs were incredible. So for me to, when I heard that it was at the Ziegfeld Theater, I was like, okay, I gotta go. I want to put that notch on my belt. I want to be able to say I presented at the Ziegfeld Ballroom.
See, you and I can relate to this because this
Yes.
is what we like. We like this
Right.
old Hollywood glamour.
Yes.
This is, and
Yes.
we want it back. We
Yes.
want it
And
back.
that was the whole idea. So when, like, so how could you tell me, let's do a show at the Ziegfeld Ballroom and show up doing clothing that looks like sportswear and sweat clothes? I'm like, come on, that's like an oxymoron. That's ridiculous.
The kids today, they don't know. They don't
They
know.
don't know.
But you, darling, I want everyone to know about you. We're coming to a close. We're going to see the fashion show. But before we see the fashion show, I want you to tell my audience where we can go to find out more information about your beautiful designs. What's the
Everything.
website?
By the way, I was invited to do, I am part of CFDA, which is the Federation of American Designers, which was a huge honor. So I'm on a CFDA 360. You could go there, .com, FDA, CFDA, or you could go to my page, anthonyrubiodesigns.com. Otherwise, I'm all over the internet. So just Google my name, Anthony Rubio. Everything I do and anything I do is all up there. And you can also see any of my past shows, including this recent show, on YouTube. Just enter Anthony Rubio and you'll see there's like 3 renditions of my show from 3 different companies. And, you know, there was a lot of publicity and stuff. And we also had CBS did a late night show, they came over to film me. And so that's going to come up on television very soon as well. And I'm now preparing to do LA Fashion Week next month. So yeah, I'm sewing already.
I love you, Anthony. It's
love you too.
always fabulous to interview you. You are an amazing designer, and I wish I was there to give you a big kiss, but I'm going to blow you the kiss. And I'm going to wish you pink champagne kisses, and don't go away yet because I want to talk right after we shut this down. And please, darlings, subscribe to my channel. And I love you all, and more celebrities, more interviews, and more shopping hauls coming up. And don't forget to subscribe. Pink champagne kisses. Well, I hope you enjoyed my interview with fashion designer and pet couturier, Mr. Anthony Rubio. My channel is all about celebrity interviews and fashion hauls at Amazon, Shein, Fashion Nova, and Rainbow, one of my favorite shopping online boutiques. And please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and always press the notification bell to let you know when I'm publishing a new video. I always publish a new video every Sunday or every Monday. And I love you all, dolls. And pink champagne kisses.
Hello, darlings. You've all heard of Marilyn Monroe. Some of you know Bridget Bardot. Well, now it's time for the Cognac show. I said Cognac, ooh, ooh. I said Cognac, ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm a bubbly blonde, fabulously dressed to impress. One of a kind girl. I was brought into this world wrapped up in pearls. I love to mingle, though my husband reminds me I'm not single. I meet and greet both the famous and the elite. I ride in limousines drinking the finest champagne, wearing furs, dazzling diamond jewelry. A girl can't complain. I live the upscale life, dining in the finest restaurants, eating the best caviar for free. And no matter how much I enjoy cognac, ooh, ooh. I said cognac, ooh, ooh, ooh. It's been a Crybaby Productions, darlings.